So, good morning, guten Morgen, mitakulu. Welcome to lecture 6 of our course, Machine Learning Basic Principles. Today we will have the pleasure to have the top manager for the ICT strategy of the Finnish social insurance institution, Ari Vähä-Erkkilä, as a guest speaker. He will tell us how Kela is now about to translate their services and their business processes into machine learning problems. So before we will go into this, I want to give a few basic facts about the course logistics. So I want to remind you that today at 5:55 p.m. we will close the quiz for round 2. So this is intentionally, there will be no deadline extension. We want to keep you from doing some last sprints over the weekend and then maybe creating more business for Kela. So we want to keep you from running into a burnout. However, I have to remind you, there are no minimum point requirements for each round. So trying out the quiz can never hurt. You can only collect more points, okay? But there will be no deadline extension for this. And we also continuously ask you for feedback, and happily you give us the feedback. Actually, it's required to get formally the grade. What we require is that you fill out the feedback form, and we see from the workload estimate that it's a bit higher now in round 2, but still around 10 hours. So 10 hours per round times 6 rounds gives 60 hours for the rounds, and then approximately 60 hours is the estimated workload for the data analysis project, which is another main part of the course. So we are in good shape here, since the course is worth 5 credits, which roughly corresponds to 120 to 130 hours of work. Yeah, I got some requests regarding the submission of the Python notebooks. I have to highlight again, we don't require you to submit your Python notebooks. It's very nice to have them, kind of to start testing some auto-grading services for the future, but in this edition of the course, we don't require you to submit any code files. Okay. Yeah, then please use when you have questions, don't use as first option emails. We try to respond, however, emails is probably the option with the highest delay for the response time. So first use the Slack discussion forum, or go to one of the exercise garages. And here we will have one change. By next week, we will combine the 2 exercise garages on Wednesday to have only one exercise garage on Wednesday, starting at 12:15 in this hall. And we will equip this exercise garage with more TAs. So some exercise garages have been pretty crowded, and the TAs had a hard time to cope with all the requests. So we will take this into account and now reduce the number of exercise garages, but double the number of TAs per exercise garage. Okay. Yeah, are there any questions from your side regarding course logistics, formalities? Yes? So the question was, are you allowed to save the Python notebooks? I would say yes, why not? But however, whenever you want to kind of publish them, please contact us, because there was a lot of work from the TAs and myself involved. But the Python notebooks that we distributed are very basic, so if most of the notebook is then from you, kind of your modification, then I see no problem, but at least you can save it, yeah. We don't force you to destroy the notebooks on your hard disk. Any other questions? Okay, so let's now turn towards the guest talk today, which I'm very happy to have, because this is a prime example of how you apply the tools from this course. I tried to convince you so far in this course to use a particular form of specifying a machine learning problem, which lends somewhat naturally also to its solution. So there were some main components of a machine learning problem. Do you remember what were the main components of a machine learning problem? Yes? Yeah, so features and labels which characterize? Data. So data is one important component, and Kela, they have some data at their disposal. What else are the components? What other components do we have in a machine learning problem? A hypothesis space, which kind of collects all the possible mappings in a mathematical sense, a map from features which characterize the data point to the labels, which is the information that we want. For example, in Kela, a data point means an application for benefit. How many of you have ever applied for benefits at Kela? Quite a lot. So this is really widely used in Finland, the services of Kela. And a benefit application at Kela is one data point. What are features of the data point? What could be features of the data point of a benefit application? The appointment status, the income, so your personal data, then what you apply for, kind of what benefit you apply for. There are several benefits I learned. So these are all features which characterize a data point. What could be the label for a benefit application? Yeah, so it could be binary labels, a benefit granted, y equal 1, or benefit not granted, y equal to 0. These are the labels. So what is the hypothesis space in this application? What do you think is the hypothesis space at the moment at Kela? What are the elements of the hypothesis space? So the elements of the hypothesis space are possible mappings which take the features of the application and map it to a decision. Who executes such a hypothesis map at the moment at Kela? What do you think?
Somebody working behind the computer.
Sorry?
Somebody behind the computer.
Somebody behind the computer. So the hypothesis is implemented by a worker at Kela, an employee at Kela. And the goal now is kind of to use machine learning to implement this hypothesis. And the question is then, of course, what is the correct hypothesis, or what is a good hypothesis? So Kela will face the problem of learning among all possible hypotheses which map features of an application, benefit application, to the decision, which is the label. And so kind of in my point of view, this is a very sexy problem because it brings in a lot of issues, computational aspects. You have seen in the example of polynomial regression. So polynomial regression amounts to a particular choice of the hypothesis space that you have to take into account what computer or what computational opportunities you have. If you have only a crappy or a high-level programming language which cannot do well matrix inversion, then you cannot do polynomial regression. Then a hypothesis space of polynomial regression is no good. In Kela, what would be a possible restriction on the hypothesis space? What do the hypothesis maps have to fulfill in this application? What are requirements for this map which takes the benefit application and outputs a decision? What do we want from such a map? Sorry, can you? It should agree with a decision which a human can make. Okay, this we can do by comparing with labeled data. So labeled data would mean applications which have been decided by an expert. So we know the true decision. But what more basic characteristics do we want to have? It should not discriminate. So we take discrimination into account. We have to take into account privacy. The GDPR has to be fulfilled. So when you program gradient descent there, you have to somehow program in this gradient descent to not contradict GDPR. Very interesting problem. What else? When you as a customer of Kela want to apply for a benefit, what is your wish? When you apply for a benefit, what do you want to have? The decision, a positive decision, but also you want to have the decision fast. So a requirement is for the hypothesis space, only use hypotheses which allow to come up with a decision within 1 day. I guess 1 day is a very ambitious goal. Currently, the average response time is around 7 days or more. So the goal would be to get below 1 day processing time. And the question is then, for the machine learning experts, which you are, what hypothesis spaces would allow then to come up with a decision within 1 day? Is it a polynomial space? Is it the space underlying linear regression? Is it a hypothesis space arising from deep neural networks, which you have learned about? This is then the hard work, and this is kind of your job as a machine learning engineer at Kela, and what I understood, there might be a lot of jobs at Kela in this regard soon, or in the near future, because it's a top priority. But now I hand over the stage to our guest speaker, Ari. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you, and nice to be here. It's really interesting and important thing to do currently. Let's set up this traditional ICT first.
Yeah.
To log in, of course. So, okay. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, and Kela. One major part of my presentation clicker has been set aside somewhere, I think, where I put it on here. Yes, sorry. I won't give you answers. I will give you questions. And that's the main part for this presentation. Today I'm going to talk about Kela. And why Kela? Because it's really important to understand why machine learning is so crucial for the future. Why it's so important to be able to do it correctly. And some challenges that we have already identified. And feel free to ask, interrupt. I will answer if I know or can. If not, then we'll see what happens. A few words about me. I'm Ari Vähä-Erkkilä, head of CIO office, tietohallintopäällikkö in Finnish. Run a group of about 60 persons within Kela, focusing on all kinds of important issues. Robotics and AI is some part of my current daily work. I am a Helsinki University student. Several years ago, I used to code, do architect stuff on multiple levels. Now I've been since 2011 running the Kela, let's say, CIO office. I have background in many other fields. Healthcare is one part. Identity access management, I used to code a solution 4 years previously. I know something about that. Public government, of course, is now quite good. I've been in Kela with Kela since 2007. You find me on LinkedIn and Twitter quite easily. As Alex said, Kela is Finnish, public agency. We are not directly part of the Finnish government processes. We are public organization, but quite different. Social insurance, benefits, student benefit, for example, run some pensions, etc. All Finnish citizens are Kela customers. Everyone living permanently in Finland is a Kela customer. All Finnish employment organizations that have employees are Kela customers. And there are also a lot of customers abroad. So that's not just Finnish people. Some numbers. Then this is quite important because it's easy to do a lot of things on small scale. But the scale of things that we do in Kela is quite large. One key part is access through online services. It's gonna be about 43 million logins this year. And almost every time something is created. Application, request for information, or whatever. Applications, almost 65% of applications are already in electronic form. So when Alex mentioned data, yes, we do have data in electronic form. More than 7,000 employees at the moment. A lot of people sitting behind the computer doing those decisions. We distribute about 15 billion euros of taxpayer money every year. So this is big business, really important part. And I always say Kela is very important, but it's very important for those who are not employed, who have no steady jobs, those who really need financial support, for example. Then the Kela responsibility is very large. As a taxpayer or working citizen, I really don't have to access Kela as a customer very often. But if you do not have a job or study permanently, you really need the income or whatever Kela provides. Very important parts. Health insurance is the biggest in euros at the moment. We are national organization. We have some services everywhere in Finland. These are our service network locations. Really local service. Even though the number of electronic applications is very high. Online services, Kela.fi is of course available 24/7, always on hand. Something about history. I've been here before, almost 22 years ago, studying robotics and AI. I didn't read the whole book through, but the basics are coming back to me, let's say. Question. How many of you know Kela is an ICT service provider? Very few hands, couple of. Kela is largest public ICT organization in Finland, and one of the largest ICT organizations that are strictly in-house ICT. Tieto or CGI or Fujitsu are larger, but they are service providers in larger scale. They do not have in-house as such. Our 900 ICT professionals are mostly operating on the in-house ICT. And the service provider part, but that's the services as we provided, not ICT services as such. Everything from ICT management to managing our workstations. Everything in between. Several coders, developers, designers, architects work in Kela on the ICT field. And we are old in using ICT. Long experience. Second commercial computer in Finland came to Kela, January 1960. First system was a punch card system purchased from Watson AB. You probably can guess which the company is called today. It's IBM, since 1939. Long history, long traditions, long expertise. Very good people working for us. Old history means a lot of legacy. If you Google IBM ZOS mainframe, you get a lot of historical information. Those are huge systems that operate huge amounts of transactional data. Core business in a bank can be operated on a mainframe. We're still using it. We are not using COBOL because we are using PL1. DB2 database Java is important for us. We have to be using that. We use SAP in-house in financial and HR parts. And those are really, let's say, foundation why I'm here today talking about machine learning. These are old, still very operational, they work very well. But to provide a terminal session, green text, black background for a new customer representative is not something they are hoping to see. They are old. And operating those are really manual job. Number one e-service provider in Finland, Kela, FI, Kela.fi, Kanta.fi, really known. But the key part of our future and our past is that we are data processing entity. We do not process on physical things. Maternity package is one physical service that Kela provides, but we have outsourced it, so Kela doesn't really handle those boxes. Only physical entities are the papers that you send. And those are scanned to PDF, so nothing more. We are currently running AI on that one, so we are transferring those PDFs to, let's say, textual form so we can use it properly. But the basic part is that we receive information, we process information, we produce information. Application processing, payment data to banks. Really simple. Volumes are high. But we are not a big data organization. There are not hundreds of millions of lines of data. There are just millions of lines of data, or tens of millions of lines of data. But the one difference that we have compared to other organizations, that the number of attributes or features of data point are huge. There is a lot of information stored on those rows. And it's not the volume of the rows, it's the width of the rows. And most of our data is sensitive personal data. GDPR is important to us. We used 2 years to prepare us for this one. But we didn't have to change our systems basically at all. All the work that we did was try to understand what has been written and what it requires us to do. It was basically just documentation. Documenting procedures that we already have to comply the GDPR and create processes to provide services as requested. And before you ask, you cannot be forgotten. Kela operates on law, so because the basis for our data processing is written in law, you cannot be forgotten. You cannot call Kela and ask, I want to be forgotten by GDPR. No, you cannot. We will still have your data, and we are allowed to have your data. But the data is there. Long history, electronic format, a lot of data to be able to use. A lot of applications, a lot of benefit decisions. Remember this. On digital form, what has been done, these are some parts of our history that are really important to know. Kanta services, of course. Doctor writes your drug, you go to the pharmacy and show your Kela card and get the, or whatever ID you have, and you get the medication. The data is stored in Kela premises and provided for the pharmacy to use. And every every delivery is stored in Kela systems also. About 5 million deliveries monthly, each month. Electronic document management, I thought about that one before. This is something that has been really difficult to understand because in Finland there has been a lot of talk about digital future and using digitalization as a causal form. We did it in the 1970s, before the term was invented. We changed the process to benefit the customer using ICT technologies. And that's the main part of digital future and Kela's future. Using technology to help the customer to change the process. Basics first. What's a benefit? Because benefit is the part that we handle most, process most, and create most action on. On Finnish pages for people coming to Finland, there's a website available, a couple of short pieces on that information. If you don't have income, you can ask Kela. Kela will provide you income. If your housing costs are high or you don't have money to buy your rent, you can ask Kela to buy parts of it. Housing allowance, for example. These are benefits. Basically, that's it. There's a need for income or money. There's some reason to have it. The Finnish welfare state has decided that then the state or government will pay parts of it. And Kela doesn't decide who should get it, how much they get it, or who is eligible. The Finnish parliament does the decision. We just implement the law as is written. And that's why it's sometimes very difficult to understand why Kela is so, let's say, strict on some rules or regulations or limits. It's written in the law and we cannot, let's say, we have to follow the law, implement the law. And if there's a complaint, don't complain me, complain your parliament member. Of course, there are a lot of issues that can be done still to enhance the customer experience. And that's something that I'm talking about today later. Some benefits that are available, there's a wide variety of 40 core benefits approximately. A lot of variation between them. And 40 benefit systems. Remember this. From family, students, conscripts, pensioners, unemployed, sickness info benefits, for example, housing, social assistance. But the basic process is really simple. As I said, we get the data, we do something, and create the decision and a payment. For most people, the decision is secondary to the money that goes to the bank. But this is the basic process. There is some way we get the information that a benefit is requested by a customer. We check some prerequisites automatically or manually, do the decision, and create the payment. The difficulty is that this happens 9 million times annually. And that's the number of actual benefit applications that we process. it's not as simple as it seems. Because in some cases, for example, you confirm your study place or appointment in Aalto. We get the information, the student has accepted, so we know, okay, we sent pre-filled application to the student. There's an event that happens there. Who do we send it to? One problem. Income changes, get some job for the summer and get some money. What happens? We have to check the benefits again, if it's again possible. In some cases, we have to request for additional information for the customer, for the student, for other governmental organizations. Most of the time, we try to do it automatically. But if we have to ask the customer, there is still a possibility to use letters and paper. We are moving an electronic form on that one also. But again, something changes. And the information received may return us to the start. A new application is created. Sometimes you are not eligible for the benefit. That happens sometimes. One interesting part is that quite a large number of our customers do not have a bank account. What do we do then? I don't have a solution. We are looking for many. But the number of events that we handle annually is approximately 50 million. All sensitive personal information. Those numbers could be, let's say, quite high. But you have to remember, there's an individual behind each one of those 50 million points, who is, most of the time, in need of assistance from Kela. And we do not have the luxury of, let's say, classifying them as a mass. They are individuals that they have to be served individually. So every one of these cases is important and has to be done fast, correctly, and in, let's say, friendly manner. That's a challenge, I admit. You probably can already see the possible use cases of AI or machine learning in this case. But to confuse you more, this is the slide that everything gets complicated, really complicated. Approximately 40 core benefits, and because they are old, some laws from the 70s, they are what a huge ICT provider says features. We call them almost distractions. They are if parts in the code quite a lot. In this case, you really shouldn't do this, you have to do this other thing. All these benefit flows are from the 70s, and you can understand, guess, there isn't e-services, AI, ICT mentioned. But the law is in effect still, and we have to, let's say, modify our services so that they comply with the paper world law. About 200 to 300 separate pieces of regulation governing us on the benefit side. That's a lot. And large volume to handle. And to make things complicated, 6 ministries writes those laws or governs those laws. So there is not single guideline how the law should be written or how it's constructed. They are pieces of creation, artwork in a way. And it's sometimes really difficult to transfer this art to an ICT form, computer program, for example. currently. To process the data, it would be really easy if the data would be semantically easily combined. It's not. We cannot create a single data model for the customer that covers all the benefits, all the variations. For example, income that Alex mentioned, the regulation defines it at least 26 different ways. So if your data point has a feature income, it's one of those 26, and you cannot match. The parts, of course, match because the income the customer gets is, well, income. There is not 26 different. But there's variations so that to create the model, you have to understand which parts of the income or those 26 comply. To make matters worse, if you send an income to the AI or machine learning problem, it doesn't understand this is different from the other income that it got last week or yesterday. So ICT computer, income is the income and that's it. You have to define it differently. It's some other income 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 26. And of course, the laws change. From time to time, depending on the government or the parliament policies, sometimes, or I should write over that sometimes, quite often those are implemented with unrealistic expectations. It's not uncommon for the parliament to pass a law during Christmas that it comes into effect in New Year. So there is a couple of days time to program the systems to create the system so that it complies with the new law. Thankfully, we get advanced information. But still, the final saying is on the parliament and the voting, and sometimes they still change the exact details. Again, if we get a couple of days time to create the software, you cannot if then else code it. Procedural coding is out of the question. There is not enough time. Those are huge systems that have to be done and tested, of course. Never ever will it be okay for the parliament to have a couple of days of warning to comply or implement the law. It takes always time, more time, but still there are unrealistic expectations. And there has been cases in which a law has been proposed so that it will save government taxpayer money, let's say 500,000 euros. But the cost of implementing is more. And sometimes we have created the system and then the parliament decides we will not pass the law. But that's politics, so we are just working on the ICT. AI and ML in Kela. I'm not keen on discussing the final details of AI or sections of AI or what philosophical background is on the AI. My goal in Kela is that what we can achieve by using AI. What's the result we get by using it? And to be able to use, we would need you, the professionals who can do it. The goal is for us not to do good, cool, fine, hype, very important future stuff. We must be able to achieve something. This is Kela's strategy. One part of it is excellent customer service. And that's something that we really see a lot, and it's really important, because when you call Kela, it costs us €1 per minute to serve you. If you do not call us, use e-services for example, it's less than 20 cents per session. Combining everything, creation of the systems, operating those systems, the money that we have to pay to the bank for your e-identification use, everything is in 20 cents. So the first minute is 5 times more expensive than the e-services that we provide. So every time we get one customer transferred from the desk or phone to the e-services, we have saved taxpayer money. And why would anyone move to the e-service side? We have to provide excellent service on that side also. One example is chatbots. These are coming reality. These are, of course, very traditional, already operational and widely used. But those are very often strict, narrow fields. Web store, you can answer some questions regarding products. Of course, in Kela, of course, we can answer some questions on products. As in here, I try to use it in English, but wisely, we do not serve in English on this side. But the main part of the chatbot is that it's predefined answers, manually created. AI is used, of course, to understand the question. That's the intelligent part of it. Of course, and why not? A disabled person or an old person living at home, perhaps not so good on using hands or vision is not perfect. Use speech. You talk to a Google Alexa or Amazon Echo. There's Kela servicing you there. Why not? Hey, when I get my next benefit payment, how much it's going to be? Why not? Chatbot is not complete solution for the customer frontline. It's probably the one you are going to see in the near future. Because every time, most of you had already filled or applied for Kela benefit, you have had the, let's say, lovely experience of filling out Kela form, and probably you have already reached the point, what does this mean? If we provide a chatbot to answer those every checkboxes, what does it mean if I write this on here? That's the most common question we get, no problem. We can use it chatbots, but it's manual work to answer those. Why not go further? Why not the chatbot ask you questions? This is the income we know. Is this okay? Yes, this is, I'm applying for student benefit. Yes, we have everything okay. Can we do the decision for you? Why not? Finnish language, difficult. Swedish is easier. There are more Swedes in the world. English-speaking people are majority, very easy. But the problem is that we have to define the scope of the answers because all the answers have to be written manually. And of course, every time we have implemented chatbot, there is the question of meaning of life. And any other funny questions. I asked it. This is the response that our current online chatbot gave. Its scope is parental allowances at the moment. But what happens if you ask on taxes? how much taxes this application or this benefit will affect or whatever happens. What currently happens, the Kela chatbot will answer, talk to the tax chatbot, explain the problem again, and again, and again. Better solution is to connect those chatbots and allow cross-organizational service for the customer. And that's already going on. You can look on the Valtiovarainministeriö website about Aurora AI. Really important, really interesting technical problem. How to combine information on different AI models that are the chatbot based on, and create the seamless cooperation. Some questions on challenges that we already have. I think that that's a challenge that has to be solved. Not every question should not be written manually. There has to be a better way. There has to be. At least the laws are written, they are textual representations. And Kela has own documentation on how to interpret those laws. There has to be a better way to create those answers. What if the AI gives the wrong answer? Yes, that's possible. What if the human representative gives you a wrong answer? Yes, that's possible. Which is worse? Both are wrong. Both are bad. Things happen. It's not always as simple to give the correct answer. Maybe there is a way to create better answers using AI. Language translations, can we do it automatically? Not a fancy or new problem, but if it's okay. And again, the one-stop principle per organization or per customer. Who knows? Those are the challenges. But to return to the benefit decision, do you think which parts would machine learning be possible or beneficial to use? A, B, or C, or D? Shout out freely. C, yes. Any other? B, yes. A, anyone? Yes. Yeah. So the question about was that there is a possibility to create pre-filled forms, for example, or pre-filled information to help on the A part, to pre-fill on these cases. Yes, that's true. Anyone voting for the D part? No. I'll throw the challenges or the parts bit deeper because these highlight the possible cases that you could really use it. Pre-filled forms is written on there, of course, common questions. The difficult one is which benefit to apply. How to create the customer the information or the Kela personal information that this is the one you really should get. It's a challenge for us, but I can only imagine what is for the customer. It's difficult for us. It's really overwhelming for the citizen or customer. Because there is a prioritization problem. If you apply A, B, or C, you get 56 euros a month. If you apply for B, D, and E, you get 90 euros. And how can the customer know? By applying, yes. By applying differently, perhaps. How many years it would take to go through this? Of course, always you can call Kela and ask, in this case, what's the best combination? But there is the customer representative that has to know. Currently, it has been calculated that the customer representative should know about 126 benefits to be able to, let's say, guess on the correct combination. AI problem, anyone? The benefits are interlinked. If you get one, you cannot get the other one, or you get reduced amount or whatever. What's the best order? What is the best in this case? For the customer, for the government, for the taxpayer? Even when in Kela, we are happy to help citizens in their need. Our main goal is to, let's say, bring them back as a taxpayer in the society so that they won't need the Kela benefits anymore. That is, of course, help for us, for the taxpayer, but creates a meaningful life for the citizen. So talking to Kela is not always meaningful or challenging. But how do you know what's the best order for the situation? Because in reality, we have 40 different benefits, probably about 40 or more different models, AI models, that are used to create those decisions. To use the background, what's the solution? Model of models. I don't know if that's possible. You can always create a single huge model, but I do not want to keep it up to date. It's huge. The number of data points or attributes or features on those data points, huge. To keep that up to date on all those laws, I hope not. There's a problem. How to create? We have a number of models available on the next phase. How do we combine those to calculate the best solution for the citizen or customer? That has to be done. We cannot operate in future without this part. Problem that has to be solved. Checks on the first one. Two key questions. Do we have all the information available as is written in the law or is required by the decision? Is the information valid? How do you know it's valid? Is there any other benefits already applied so you cannot have the new one? Does the other ones need to be evaluated? 50 million events coming in. The creation of events is huge. There is a case in our current systems that a single new benefit created 1,000 new checks on other benefits. Because they are interlinked. You have to check and check and check and check. The problem was solved by disabling the automatic re-evaluation job creation. It was outsourced to the human intelligence to do those checks. Then, going further, which one makes you happier? Green or yellow? Blue or yellow? Most of you probably want high accuracy of correctness. It's probably 98. It's not. I don't have the exact number of our current number of correctness by using human resources. On the problems that all pilots we have done, we have gotten quite good on the IC, let's say, AI part also. Does this information change your view? Are you willing to accept, let's say, little less correct answers fast, or do you want to wait for a long time and get perhaps more correct answer? You can always call back and say this is wrong, as many people do. How do you measure correctness? You really have to check the correctness of the decision compared to the law as it's written. There are sometimes it's easy to see, sometimes it's really difficult to decide if this is correct or not. The law is the law. This is how it should be run, but because it's written quite often so that it's not strictly easily you cannot strictly find it in the law stating that this is the correct way. You have to interpret the law a bit. So the number of correctness or the probability will go down quite soon. But most of the time, the customer is happy to receive the money approximately correctly. Of course, if you compare the customer satisfaction on negative decisions, it's much less than on the positive ones. But whenever there is a problem, because there is a problem at the moment with this one. If the time between the application and the decision is long, the customer will forget what he has or she has written in the application. So there's a lot of callbacks for us, or the customer calls us, asks why the decision is so such, because you wrote your application this amount of income. Okay. Decision. That's the key part or the main part of the process. Should the person get the money? Really simple, because it's regulated set of rules. You can write, we have done it. We have created a computer program that implements the law. It's not difficult. It's time consuming. The laws are available online. The interpretations of those by Kela are online, our Kela website. You can check and compare there. You can see what are those difficult ones that we already have. To create a machine learning solution, we can use the data that we already have on those applications and decisions to create the model. And we have done it on a single benefit. We have a lot of models coming because 40 basic benefits, core benefits, that amounts to at least 40 models. A lot of manual work required to create those models, teaching those on, refining those, of course. But the data is there. It's available. It's sensitive data, of course, but yes, we can use it to develop our services. It's acceptable use without your consent, of course. What if the model created coverage of 80% of cases? On 80% of cases, the probability of correctness of the model is certain. This is the correct number of correct decision based on the previous decisions that Kela has made. What will we do on the other 20? Do we handle those manually? Do we teach the model or refine the model to be able to handle those cases too? We have to decide. But this is the key part. Difficult thing happens after the decision has been drafted. It's currently difficult also. We have to reason the decision. Every decision you have received from Kela, there is I understand today, a second page that states the parts of the law or sometimes even the sections of the law that the decision is based on. Currently, our systems use traditional coding. In these cases, these are the reasoning phrases that have been used. Of course, the person can add or edit those phrases to really comply the law. There has been studies. Most of the people do not read the second page. They are not interested in the sections. It's mandated by law that we have to state those sections and laws. On AI world, and this is something probably some of you want to investigate further. How do we get the reasoning out of the AI? This is the input, this is the result, yes, that's fine. Why the result is this? And this is not a theoretical problem. This is a problem, common, let's say, practical problem for us. We have to decide or state the decision. Probably the customer won't be happy, especially on negative cases. Normally, in your situation, you don't get the benefit. Is there a possible, for example, get the decision tree out, or whatever it is, to create to be translated as a text? Is it understandable by the customer? To be really plain, how to make the customer understand the decision, why the decision is what it is.
So it's not allowed to tell the customer, when we train this deep neural network on this particular training data or historic recordings, that's the output. And you can implement this deep neural network on your own computer and confirm everything.
If it's okay to tell the customer that this is, we used old data and created a model, and this is the model, by the way, you can use it, and this is the result, we got it from it. I don't know. That's something that, let's say, public organizations globally have to decide. What's the correct way of, let's say, producing the customer the information why the result is what it is? Not just stating that you get this and this is fine.
And who defines what a proper reasoning is?
The law, Parliament. It's written in the law so that of course there are interpretations of that. It's difficult because as a customer you get a result, you get money next week, 200 euros. Who cares what it is, why it's so? Only on those cases the amount is less than the customer expects, or it's negative decision. Those reasonings are looked through more. And even then, it's very seldom understandable for the customer unless he or she reads the law and compares the law states and understands what the law is about. Yes? How do you, because to create the model you used past information. The laws change. And what do we then do next? I'll come back to that one. This is difficult, and this is something that I have been researching a bit, is there a way, and what's the acceptable response for the customer? It's not, probably this is the correct answer. That's not going to work. There has to be something, I don't know, there is something that will be done. Phase D, before we go further, payment to the customer. Based on the benefit decision, a payment is created. It can be one-time payment, once a month payment, once whatever, once a year payment. Traditional ICT, payment data is created. We send it to the bank. Some other organization in Kela sends the money to the bank. The bank actually does the individual money transfers. Tedious, important, strictly regulated work. But that allows for the customer to receive the money today and not tomorrow. Works very well at the moment. Kela is probably largest payment data creator in Finland. We create most of the payments. The payments aren't large. They're not, money-wise, they are not huge. But the number of payment items is huge, and probably the largest in Finland. Of course, we have to check. We do quite strict checking if the payment has really gone to the correct customer or transfer has been completed. And those money values are exact to the cent. Because we use taxpayer money, we have to be certain that the systems operate correctly. There's one problem that will be in the future or happen in the future. Data quality. And when processes automate and come faster, the damage that they invalid data can create is potentially huge. This is not so unrealistic problem. There's a clerical error somewhere. Income data is entered incorrectly. There is a Finnish system coming online early next year, income database, national income database. Every income will be stored there on real time. You get money, paycheck, the money amount will be stored online. It's usable, for example, for Kela. And for some reason, in this month, you get 100 times amount of the income. We get change of income event. Our super fabulous automatic process of 3 seconds. Yes, this customer has received income. We have to pay, do not have to pay anymore. Let's cancel all those benefits. This happens today, but it takes weeks or months. But if you can automate the data, correct or incorrect, automate the process, automate the decision, and automate the creation of unhappy customers. Just because someone in somewhere forgot a decimal point. That has happened to me. I didn't get benefit cancelled. I got too much taxes to be paid. Took some time to find out that there was a 1 decimal point missing. But this is something that problem because when we enhance the process so that it is fast, there's a problem. We have to be able to rely it so that the data is correct. We have to check the data perhaps. Is there a way to find out using data analytics, AI, ML, anything, to find out this is, let's say, varies too much from the history. This is not normal. Something has happened. Perhaps the automatic process should not go fast and further. Then there are the other issues. Some benefits are discretionary. The person has the power to decide if the customer is eligible or not without any defined rule sets. Any ideas how the AI would help? Supporting role perhaps. Fraud detection, when the customer is doing something wrong or just misunderstanding. During the years I have received many presentations on companies telling how fabulous their fraud detection systems are. I have always answered or questioned them, how do you differentiate fraud and misunderstanding? And I haven't had a solid answer yet. If it's a detection or prevention problem, should we detect or can we even prevent misunderstandings or frauds? Because we have the data, we have the models available, we have the possibility to analyze all the data points. Of course, Kela is a large organization, we have a lot of process data available, maybe data analytics. Analysis for customers. What are our customers like? What are the services they require? We classify customers. These are actual classifications for us. But we do not serve them differently. This is for service creation or service improvement reason only. When we have special customers, we know that they need appointment, they need multi-organizational support. When we have some potential customers that really don't have any benefits going, but they should be a good receive, we provide them information. Let's go further. There's one big part that is really important for the future, the ethics of AI and machine learning. This is a question that I've been, let's say, thinking a lot lately. Is it okay to use machines to create non-life-threatening decisions for the customers that affect the customer's life? And that's on topic is again rising as we speak on AI and machine doing the work of human intelligence. This is the problems that are linked to the problem ethics. Humans are not infallible. Things happen, there is a bad day, some information is missed. There are errors happening in our processes. Not often, sometimes. The customer experience, how the customer will react, as Alex questioned, if it's okay for us to say that this is made by AI, don't worry. How the customer reacts. Is the reaction differentiated if the answer done by human takes 3 weeks and by machine takes 3 minutes or 3 seconds or less than a day? On one question I haven't seen discussed is that when it's okay to use taxpayer money, is it okay to do stupid things manually? Or is it wise use of taxpayer money to use current modern technology to help better serve customers, to save money, provide better service, provide more accurate implementation of the law on regards to the customer? correct benefits, correct customers. The law, politicians have written the law so that a certain person gets certain benefit. If he do not get it, the taxpayer money is not used as it should be done. If it's okay, there's the other point. If it's okay to waste money, I think the ethics of that is questionable. And if someone comes to Kela and audits us and sees that we are wasting money, we get bad feedback. The wrong answer problem. How in the world it's so much worse when the wrong answer comes from a machine versus the human? End result, it's the wrong answer. But if it is really so difficult or, let's say, bad that the machine makes the wrong one, people do it. The bias problem is, of course, present because every decision, every data created by humans is somehow biased. We are human after all. You have to be superhuman not to, in every situation, not to have any bias at all. I'm an open-minded person. I see everyone, human is a human, that's it. But still I have biases. I have noticed because I have been studying myself after I've been thinking about this. I think everyone is the same. But still there is some situations that I see myself having a bias. And if I have a bias, my decisions or my creations, whatever I provide or create, contains some parts of that bias. How to differentiate for the current data, the biased data? And what's the bias? You are unemployed. You get Social Security. Is it a bias? Only unemployed person should get Social Security. You have to define what's bias. But the main part, treat all equally and try not to, let's say, emphasize the AI unbiased bias too much if it's created by the data. If it's model-based and you write the model so that young people under 30 can be let go from a company more easily, that's bias. Or it's law, depending on the parliament. How to detect bias? How to operate the systems that they are unbiased? I don't know. It's probably the issue is more philosophical than real. It's the same as old Finnish saying that eating ice cream increases amount of suicides. Old statistical joke. In summer, more people do die and more people eat ice cream. Is it something that the data provides? Yes, it's written. If you do the math and you do the statistics, there is the direct correlation. Is it something that we must act on? I don't know how to differentiate. Really difficult. Probably the question is really philosophical, and you should not emphasize it too much. We have dozens of fully automated decisions already. There are at least 40 process parts that are fully automatic that affect the customer directly through automatic processing. It's not artificial intelligence, it's basic code currently, but there's lots of those. And there has been very little discussion on ethics on those cases. And I submit that's the same for all large organizations. There are a lot of automatic things already happening without any discussion on ethics. problem that we will face is scaling this fancy, great idea that you can write on your own laptop to the enterprise scale. Data is, of course, available. More data points, more attributes, more features. How to manage those data, how to store it, etc. Basic, traditional ICT. Number of models. How do we operate 40 plus models of AI efficiently? How do we manage the model coverage so that they operate correctly and improve over time? What are the real implementations of the AI models so our throughput of processing remains high or improves? It's not okay to, let's say, 10 minutes, to do a 10-minute calculation on a problem that really stops our processes at the moment. Of course, the comparison to the human throughput is huge. It's easily won. But there is a problem on creating an architecture so that the throughput of all those events or multiplying them will be processable. One aspect of AI, and that's one major part for why we are investing heavily on AI, is the system development phase. A new benefit decision system takes about at least 1 year to develop, test, and make production ready. Basic income support, perustoimeentulotuki, that was implemented early last year, 2.5 years of coding, testing, developing, defining. Those are huge amounts of time. We did a pilot on housing allowance this year. We got 99.5% accuracy on an AI model created on a MacBook in less than 5 minutes. Of course, it's on a laptop. This is not an enterprise solution. You cannot process 5 million events or 50 million events on a laptop. And that's the scaling problem. But if we really, let's say, 100 times the amount of system development required to implement a law, it's still a lot less than to do it manually, code it manually. Change management of the model, of the models, of the architecture, etc. And that's the one was questioned earlier. Benefit laws change. After a certain day, this particular instance should be decided on other way. The model should behave a certain way after a certain date. And most often, it's only slightly different. It's not the complete model doesn't change, or the complete regulation doesn't change. Only small item changes. How do we teach the model not to behave as it used to, but a new way? Do we reteach the whole model? I don't know. Has to be decided and found out. New benefits are also implemented. Benefits that have no input data, no output data. We have no applications, we have no decisions. What do we do then? There's no data to be used. We have to create the data from scratch? Perhaps. Perhaps we have to ask some citizens or customers to create, let's say, semi-false applications beta applications and to manually create those decisions so that we can teach the model and refine that until it's reasonable, the coverage is reasonable. Again, scaling the AI. How many lines of applications and decisions we need to create at least, maybe, let's say, if the 80 is the good coverage, 99.8 is super, and the goal, what's the number of 50, 40, 30 we need to go live to create a model that corrects correctly on, let's say, 30% cases? That's a good one. Should it be 80? I don't know. Reality. AI models, PC, fine. What's the architecture required on an enterprise scale to access the model data, to process the data correctly? We are looking into creating a generic architecture to cover all our benefits so that the benefit is only the model that changes. The whole other architecture, that is traditional ICT, will stay the same. New roles will be created in Kela. There's some on here. These are not final, these are draft phase. Data scientist processes our existing data so that we can teach the AI. Create the model, analyze the data, rule out those difficult cases that are the exemptions to the rule. Data validator. Did the model behave correctly? Refine the model, perhaps. Not an ICT person. This is a business person, of course. Someone who knows the law very well. Data creator. Creates new data from scratch. Really quite interesting task. Is there some way to automate perhaps this? I don't know. Finnish language is a problem. Highly sensitive personal information. We cannot ship our data out to the cloud and say, this is, you process this and create a model. We have to do some other solutions that are thankfully available. For example, we have IBM Watson Cloud in our own data center currently. Private cloud. Not private cloud, but not private cloud. Works very well. We don't have to ship the data out. We can use the data in-house, but still use the cloud technologies on that one. Really cool stuff. As an ICT challenge, you can think that all those A, B, C, not D, parts could be implemented as a black box. Huge black box, all the data, all the output, this is the model that it behaves. No, it's not that simple. There's a lot of traditional ICT development still required. User interfaces, for example, are really important, really, let's say, challenging for the future. How does the AI represent themselves as itself to the customer, to the Kela person? There will be calls coming to Kela. Where is my application going? Oh, it's in the magic black box. We'll have to wait. No. What are the relevant metrics to monitor on an enterprise scale? On the AI, on the other architecture. Our strategy position on AI, on RPA for that matter, is that those are integral part of our future. We will implement architecture based on AI decision making next year. Will be part, we are using RPA already, automating those legacy systems. That's nothing intelligent on that one, that's simpler. simple parts that cannot be changed can be replaced by RPA in some cases. Also, one of migration, that's really quite interesting use, but that's really going. But we are investing heavily on AI. AI expertise is something that we need now, tomorrow, next year, in the future. We are not strictly looking on Java coders. We are looking, but we are not focusing on them. We are focusing on the new technologies and implementing those. And anyone who can really implement, there is possibly a job in Kela for you. But there's one final thought I have. The hardest thing for anyone, I've been doing change management quite a long time now. The hardest thing is to letting go of the present. The present customers doing present things, there's present systems that have errors and problems. But how do you let go of that and think of the future? And that's really hard. Thank you. Any questions, ideas? Yeah. The question is, are we doing anything on the processes before we are using it as a, let's say, learning path? Yes, of course. We are investing, also doing heavily on that, evaluating our processes. Are they ready for RPA? Are they ready for AI process? Are they ready for automation in general? We have a lot of processes that are not so efficient at the moment, to be polite. Any other questions? Thank you. It was a pleasure, and have a nice Friday and weekend. Thank you.
You're used to talks of that length?
Yeah.
You seem to have no problem without a break. I wouldn't need a break.
I think